Hey VGA crew, Mike Amari here with the question of the week. Question of the week, of course, was what was the most frightening game you remember as a kid, or the most terrifying game as a kid? For me, really, I got to think back to the Commodore 64. I played a lot on the Commodore 64, and there was something about that color palette, that really weird sawtooth sound chip that they would use, that just combined to make some of the most terrifying experiences. And I have to mention two. The first one was a game called Forbidden Forest. That was this weird proto third-person shooter where you had this little stickman guy who had a bow and arrow and a quiver, and you'd have to walk through this really creepy forest with this really creepy music behind you. And each level would have different monsters like giant bees or bats, or a huge dragon was the boss at the end. And it was pretty graphic for the time, because if you got caught by these monsters, they would descend down and they would just eat you in this giant animation of blood flying out everywhere in these fountains that, as a kid, combined with the really minor tone music on that sound chip, made me just fucking just completely terrified as a kid. The other one that really sticks out was another Commodore 64 game that was called In the Hole of the Mountain King, I think. It used that classic song, that one, the Mountain King song. And it had you as the player going on like 3 different levels, I think it was. And the thing was, as you were playing, there was an unseen timer, and just out of nowhere, a spider would do like ticka 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 ticka. It was this weird sound effect that would like show the spider like trampling across the screen. And I was like a 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old kid, that thing terrified me because it would come out of nowhere and you'd have that sound. And even worse, the thing would wrap you up in silk and then leave you there, and then come back and eat you like a few minutes later. Like it was disturbing and unsettling, and it didn't help that the Commodore was also in my parents' basement. I know, very generic there, but it was just creepy all around, and every time I think of terrifying video games, I think of those two games, despite how kind of proto-survival horror they are. That's my answer for this week, guys. Thank you for spending time with me this week. I look forward to speaking with you again next week.